Hey everyone, how are you all doing? And welcome to this week's edition of Catherine Lorimer's Guide to Life podcast. How's it all going? You've had a good week, everyone? Yeah, I've had a really good week, thank you. I spent last weekend away at near the beach. There's a thing, we have a caravan, well, partner has a caravan, and we kind of go to the beach once a month, and it's great. It's a really, really good experience. Managed to do another run. Did have some issues with my so we've established it's not SI joint. Okay, I saw a clinician yesterday, and it's the piriform muscle. Okay, so basically, I've got to have a procedure, an ultrasound guided procedure where he's going to insert a rather large needle through my arse, or gluteus maximus. Why are you moaning, Pippa? You're not having this done to you. Right? And he's going to kind of inject some, I think it's like cortisone or something like that, into it. Because what happens is it's the muscle kind of spasming and tightening that's then pressing on my sciatic nerve. And to say it's painful is probably the biggest understatement ever. It's really, really sore. So that's where we are at the moment. I've entered a 3K run. I'm hoping to do that. That's for Race for Life one. I can walk, run it. It's fine. It's okay. I'm hoping to be able to, get a decent time. I'm not quite sure. It's taking me 20 minutes to do just over a mile at the moment, which is a bit rubbish given I was running 5 miles an hour previously, which is still fairly slow, but you know what? It's a lot quicker than I'm doing now. But anyway, we'll see how we go. The good news is the ankle's absolutely fine, okay? No swelling, no real discomfort from that. So everything's a bonus. What else is happening in my life? Pippa's obviously moaning about something on the floor. I think she might be dreaming, actually. She's fast asleep, curled up on the blanket. And so all's good. I've got my first proper exhibition with like 5 little paintings up. I don't expect to sell anybody any of them because honestly, the competition is absolutely phenomenal out there. It's brilliant. But then I was gonna rush, and I was trying to do another painting for another exhibition that closes this week. And then I thought, you know what? Don't do that. What you need to do is you need to actually take a bit of time and really concentrate. I've got 2 really, really nice canvases that I bought, proper sort of deep ones. I thought, why don't you just spend a bit of time thinking about your subject matter and actually spending a few months doing 2 really, really fantastic paintings, and then that way you can try and put them in an exhibition. Because there's a few coming up in July, and we're only in May, so May and June, July, rather than just sort of like rushing to get something done. That's not the way to do it. If you want to, you should only really exhibit your very, very best work. So just learning from the mistake I made previously when I was rushing around trying to get the last border terrier picture done, and it doesn't really look like a border terrier. So I haven't done much art this month. I've been a bit rubbish, a few things, but life gets in the way, doesn't it? I'm doing lots of golf instead, which is another form of mindfulness. Hitting a small white ball for an hour is actually really quite therapeutic. I've got my first game coming up. Yeah, match, playing the other half. He's bravely said that he's going to do it. There'll be lots of cheating going on. I'll be retaking shots to hit left, right and centre. But there we go. We're playing 9 holes. I'm just going to go out and enjoy the experience. I mean, he'll absolutely cream me, and he's going to have to wait because I'll probably be doing things in about 6 shots, and he'll be like, "Yeah, I've done that in 2." There we go. Life happens, doesn't it? Be quite funny. So that's coming up very shortly. I'll let you know how I get on with that. But today's one, I want to do like a little garden mindfulness. Because I'm really appreciative that there are people that kind of listen to this that won't get to enjoy these experiences. And we actually went off to Bodnant Gardens, which people, listen to this, probably never going to go and get to see. And I thought, right, because there's a fantastic laburnum arch, okay, at Bodnant Gardens. And it's really quite impressive, something to see. I've stuck some photographs up on Instagram. It's working now. I can't get onto my personal account, but never mind. You know what's life? I've changed phones, and the other phone's kind of dying, and I've got a new number, and yeah. So anyway, it's just I haven't switched everybody over yet, but I'm still deciding what to do. I'm thinking, do I need two phones? I don't know if I do, but then maybe I do. I'm not really sure. Do I need a tablet instead? So I'm kind of thinking it all through. Slowly moving everything over to my other phone, apart from all the contacts, which I'm probably going to end up losing those, aren't I? Which is a bit stupid. So I probably need to back them up. Maybe I'll be really old fashioned and just pop it into a book. Yeah, then if I need to contact someone, I can. Maybe I'll do that. And if people need to contact me, they can do it via Instagram. I could possibly just do that. Yeah, that might work. Anyway, yeah, so if you can try to message me on Instagram personal account, don't bother because I can't access it. And I've deleted the app from my old phone, so I'm probably never going to be able to access that ever again, which is a bit crazy, actually, because actually I've just realised there's a really important video on there, but never mind, such is life. Maybe I'll try and get access to it. It'll be fine. We'll work it out somehow. Trying to contact Instagram will be a nightmare. Anyway, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to talk through garden mindfulness and what it is. And what's garden mindfulness, you're kind of saying? Well, I mentioned last week or the week before about kind of going out and doing some things, because quite often in life we've got lots going on, haven't we? And we maybe think about things quite a lot, and they're on our minds. And a way of kind of like, and particularly, I suppose, if we're thinking about things that happened in the past and dwelling them and overthinking them, at the end of the day, we can't change anything that's happened in the past. It's too late. It's already happened. But if you've been through any kind of experience, which everybody has, or any kind of trauma of any kind, which, you know, a lot of us have, then, you know, quite often we kind of go through, don't we? And we maybe dwell on it a little bit and kind of think, well, do you know what? Maybe I should have done that. But you know what? Sometimes there's nothing you could have done, and you have to accept that there's nothing you could have done differently, because you didn't know that was going to happen. And so for me personally, it's like, you know, kind of on a bit of a journey. I was dwelling on something and quite thinking about it quite a lot. And then I chatted to my partner about it, and that's made a little bit of a difference. And so he said, why don't we go to Bodnant Gardens and have a look around? I want to go and see the laburnum arch. I thought, yeah, okay, we'll go and look around there. So you go to Bodnant Gardens, your kind of car parks up the hill, and you walk down past the coffee shop and into the actual opening, which there's a few people there checking people in. You can take your dog. So we took Pippa and Flash. Pippa had a halty on, so she didn't pull me over this time. And you go in through the doorway, and then there's this fantastic view of like mountains and around you, and mist. And then there's the formal section of the garden, which is kind of laid out as you would imagine any kind of country house is. And you go left to the edge of the garden where you follow the signs for the laburnum arch. And then you go through, and it's probably maybe, I don't know, 50 meters of this just absolutely fantastic array of yellow. And when we went, it was a little bit cloudy, so we kind of sat, there's a seat at the end, you can sit down and you can just have a look at it and then sort of soak it all in, and the smells of everything. You have to book, if you want to go, you have to kind of book your slot in advance. And when the sun kind of like shines through, it sparkles and it glitters, and it's just absolutely magical, such a magical place to be. So you kind of like, we sat there for a bit and we kind of like looked at it all and just took it all in, looked at how yellow it was and saw the light changing when the sunshine came through, and you kind of feel the warmth of the sunshine on you. So then we got up and we walked through the laburnum arch quite slowly. We went right down. There's some little pathways you can go through, all the kind of like borders. And at this time of the year, there's lots of different flowers there. There's some rhododendrons. There are alliums out. There are magnolia trees. And there's kind of an array of like different types of garden shrubs, all kind of along these little kind of picture terraces, and then you kind of open out into an expanse, and it's like a kind of like green park area, and then you can kind of wander through, and you can have a look at various different things, and you can see all the tree blossoms out as well at this time of the year. And you walk along, and you've got two options. You can either go down along through the meadows, because it's an old parkland, and it's originally 80 acres, and the whole thing is kind of set in like this little kind of like valley where there used to be an old mill, which is still there, and there's like moss growing on the roof at the bottom, and there's a stream running through which kind of widens out. And you continue to imagine, like, you've got on the right hand side, you've got the option to go up through kind of like the meadow and stuff, or you can continue along the little paths, and there's grassy paths as well as like stone paths, and you're going through all of the trees, and there's some fantastic oak trees, and there's Scotch pine trees, as well as all the shrubs and everything that are around. And then you approach the coffee shop at the bottom where we stopped. There's loads of kind of like little tables. We stopped and we had a really nice ice cream there. Went for the double chocolate one, and my partner had a honeycomb one. It's really nice. And you can hear the running water in the background, which is really, really relaxing and therapeutic. And then from there, we went over this little bridge over the river, and then we went all the way up the hill. And there's lots of different little pathways that you can kind of find, and you wind your way around, and you're looking at all the different types of plants, and you can hear, people you can hear. So we actually stopped, okay, and we found a seat in the sunshine, and it was overlooking the old mill, and the kind of the coffee shop. And we just sat there for maybe about 15 minutes, and I was just thinking about everything I could hear. So you can hear the humdrum of people around. There weren't too many people, but there were quite a few. And you can hear like occasional child scream and lots of giggling, and you can kind of see them running around and really enjoying being out in the sunshine. And then we had people walking up the path behind us, and there was the occasional dog. Pippa took objection to one particular dog or person. You're never quite sure with her. And then we had this little pet robin that kind of hopped up and was hopping around us. And you can hear all sorts of different kind of bird noises. We heard blackbirds. They were having a squabble with a song thrush. Clearly the song thrush had got too close to the blackbird's nest. And you're kind of really aware, the wind was kind of blowing, and you can hear plants and trees moving in the wind, and the distance you can kind of hear the stream kind of bubbling away as it goes down river. And then you're aware of like the sun on your face and how warm it feels. And you're also aware of all the different colours in the garden from all of the different plants. So you've got your greens. There were quite a few Japanese maple trees, and I think that's what they're called, the kind of the purpley colours. And you everywhere you're going, you saw sort of like there were bluebells out, and there's little yellow flowers and little white flowers, and there's all a different array of completely different coloured flowers and shrubs and everything to kind of look. And then you breathe in all the scent from all the different trees as we were sat in this fantastically tranquil location. And we sat there for, say, probably about 15 minutes, and then we carried on, and we wandered through, and we had a look at, there's a big oak tree that's been blown down in the wind, and it's going to be quite stressful and challenging to actually take it out, because it's come down halfway up. It's it's a few hundred years old, so it's quite a big tree, and it's come up halfway down one of the banks. So if you kind of started to cut it up, it would kind of roll down the bank and probably destroy quite a lot of important, parts of the garden. So they're having to really think about how they get it out. They might have to have a crane holding onto it, so that if they then detach it from the trunk will hopefully upright itself, and they'll be able to swing the oak tree out of there, which is going to be very expensive and very, very challenging, because it's a difficult location to kind of get any big heavy equipment in there. And so we were kind of discussing that option. And then on the other side, there's also the option to go over a waterfall bridge, which is really picturesque. And then you kind of go up, and we went through the meadows and we're back to the house, and we went to the formal section of the garden where there's kind of like mazy box hedges everywhere, and there's like the square pools, which there's a couple of those which you can kind of walk around, and it's terraced, and you can see all the rose gardens, and some of the rose bushes are kind of coming into bloom. And then we found another seat to kind of sit and just like soak up the atmosphere and look at the different part of the garden. And there are lots of different seats where you can go and sit, and you can just go and look and be. And if you actually have a look around, there's lots of different types of people. As so there's families there with children. There's people have got their dogs. So a few people being dragged around by Labradors. It's always Labradors at Pull, isn't it? And you get but it's also different ages. There's like, it's not just older couple or middle-aged couples. You get younger couples there, or it's a variety, and people from completely different backgrounds there. One Welsh lady and her mum asked me some directions, and then you get people who just lots of different types of people. And it was just a really, really, just a great place to sort of sit and watch. And people watch, and it's a sort of place you can go to on your own if you want to. If you are on your own, or you do just have you and your dog, then it's a great place where you can just walk around, soak up the atmosphere, enjoy it all. And it wouldn't matter if you're on your own, because no one would really notice, because people kind of wander around separately as well. They don't necessarily stay in their family groups. And it was just a really, really fantastic experience to kind of go and see all this and say. And we were probably there for a couple of hours. And when I came out, I just thought, wow, this is a great way to bring yourself back into the present moment. You're really appreciative of everything that's around you and the beauty. And there's something about looking at all the flowers and the colours of the flowers in the gardens. And that's probably, where I'm like looking out into my garden at the moment. It's a bit lacking in colour, okay? And my partner's is the same. He's got a few things which are nice, but it's lacking a little bit in colour. And you start thinking, well, what could we do? So, for example, he has a back section of the garden, and we have this quandary. We've been looking at the house plans and what we should do. And where am I going to put my art studio? Where's that going to go? Because I want to be able to have a space, dedicated space that I can paint. And if I use oils, they can smell. So he doesn't really want to be inhaling oils, which is what I do when I paint downstairs here. But I don't really have a particularly great sense of smell, so it's not particularly relevant for me. And so we come up with the idea of an outdoor studio in the garden, like a little pod thing. So I was thinking to myself, wow, if we had the pod thing in the garden with open windows and everything, so I've got lots of light in it, then I could actually as I said to him, I said, would it be okay then if I did something with that part of the garden? And we put some shrubs in and some flowers in and made it look really, really pretty, so that when I was like looking up from my painting, I could kind of see all of the bushes and everything and all of the flowers. And I think that's quite important. So, again, that you're kind of thinking about what you could plant there, different varieties, variegated things of different leaf types. And so it's important because I'm looking out at the garden at the moment. It's actually my neighbour's garden. I can't really see mine. It's an odd setup, and hers is all the same colour green. She's got the green grass and the green trees, and she has a rose bush with some rose flowers on, which look really pretty, but they're the same kind of green. And she hasn't really got anything, and she hasn't planted this, by the way. It's her mum has, and it's been like that for a long time. She's got her raspberry bushes, which I quite fancy having because I really like raspberries. But it's all the same types of green, and you need different colours. You need like reds in there and dark greens and variegated and different heights, so that when you're kind of looking at, there's always something different in flower or a different colour leaf structure that you can kind of look at, and that's kind of because there's always something for you to look at in the garden that's slightly different. So it was a really, really enjoyable experience, and it's really helped me to kind of bring myself back to the present moment, okay, which is what kind of mindfulness is all about. So I want you guys to head off this weekend. We're heading for the bank. This is the bank holiday weekend. It's going to be really, really nice. So I want you to try and get out the house, okay, and go and find somewhere to just go and have a look around a garden. And it doesn't actually have to be like a National Trust garden. It can be any kind of garden. And even if you just walk up your road and just have a look inside each person's garden and just see what they've got in there, have a look at the different plants and everything, because it's really, really good to have a look at different plants in gardens and see the flowers and see the bees and see the insects pollinating everything and hear the bird songs. Because there's something magical, isn't there, really, about bird noises and bird songs that sometimes we take it for granted. But actually, if we sit back and we really, really listen to it, it's just a real kind of like beauty about it, which is just absolutely fantastic, really. And as I say, something else as well. We went off to the cinema to watch Devil Wears Prada 2. I quite like the movie. It's really, really good. And so one thing that was really, really different was that Glenn Close was, she obviously this time as Miranda, she was absolutely fantastic again. But she had like a HR thing. You can't say that anymore. That's not acceptable. That's not okay. And actually, we have come on as a world, haven't we? Whereby, that isn't okay. It is okay. People can't say the things that they used to. They can't treat people at work in the way that they used to be treated, which is, it's not such a bad thing, really. That's a good thing. But also it shows that, it's still possible to be a powerful woman at the top, okay? But as she said, without ruining it, but she said, people need to know that it's really hard, You do have to make sacrifices to get to the top. You do have to work really, really hard, work all the hours that you can. And sometimes you have to define whether or not you want that success. Is that something that you want? What's more important to you? Yes, she has like status, and yes, she has like, all these fantastic clothes and everything, but at what cost? What is the real cost of it? And do you know what? She doesn't look particularly happy either, in the program. She doesn't, at the end of the day, you think, well, is that woman actually really happy? And you have to ask yourself that question as well. But it's a fantastic film. But the thing that I get is, and so one thing that was mentioned is, when the film was originally out, people were paying £100 for designer handbags. Now they're paying £1,000 for a designer handbag for a piece of leather, okay, a piece of an animal that is dyed, okay, and to put things in. And I'm questioning that whole thing, because I do. I would never in my life, no matter how rich I was, I would never pay £1,000 for a handbag. I just personally couldn't justify it. I don't really use it that much. I have got a designery handbag. I've got a Calvin Klein one. I don't know if it's real or not, but I picked it up from the charity shop for 25 quid, which brings me to another thing. So I'm just going to put it out there. Let me find it. I've got to find the relevant thing. I did Google it. So, lifetime membership of the National Trust, of which there are hundreds of properties you could go and visit, £2,430. That's just over 2 expensive handbags. And I think really, as a society, we need to kind of be asking ourselves, what would we get more benefit from? Would you get more benefit from having a lifetime membership of a National Trust, where you can go and visit all of these fantastic properties, and you could go there? Well, you could go to do one every weekend if you really wanted to, and it's a way to look around the countryside as well and around the country. Or would you rather spend that money on a pair of shoes and a handbag because they've got some label on, and they're probably all made in the same factory in India or in China? I question the whole concept. I just don't really see it myself. at the end of the day, I'm sat here with I don't even know where I got this jumper from. And I got my jeans from Tesco's. They were about £20. Would I spend more if I had more money on clothes? Probably not. No, I don't really like clothes shopping. I've got better things to be doing with my life. And I also think there's better things to do than to wear all these designer labels. And the one thing I will say, though, in this film is that the people in it, the actors and actresses, look to normal size. When I've been looking at Emily in Paris, I've been watching it thinking they look way, way, way too thin. But at least in this film, people were a lot more normal. There were less artificial people. People weren't painting on eyebrows, which I find the whole concept bizarre. And I've had it done. And I'm just like, but that's weird. It's not really who you are, is it? Why do you feel the need to put on all this makeup to hide your real face? If someone wants to be with you, then they have to see you for who you are and what you look like, because you're going to wake up in the morning and give them a bit of a shock, aren't you? If you like, so I don't trial on your makeup on. I occasionally put a little bit on when I remember if we're going out somewhere, And I think sometimes, your beauty comes from within inside yourself. And if you are happy and you're drinking a lot of water, you're eating some really good food, you're going and getting lots of exercise, then that's where your true glow comes from. And it comes from who you are, and what you believe in as well. And what and I just think those things are kind of more important. So anyway, I hope you got something from this podcast. I thought it was just a little different concept. I'm hoping that you kind of got to enjoy the whole, Bodnant garden experience. Even if you haven't been there, if you can have a look at some pictures online, I'll shove some up now. And if you have a look for some pictures online, and as well of the garden. So, and hopefully, as I've talked you kind of through it, because there's lots of old buildings there as well, which I completely forgot to mention. So there's different kind of buildings sort of dotted around as well, which should just make the whole place really interesting. And say lots of different bridges and structures and everything. But go and have a look. And yeah, I just hope you got something from this podcast, and have a fantastic bank holiday weekend, everybody. And I will catch you next time.